Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Boss Bitches podcast. I'm Debbie-Lyn. I am CEO of DL Models. We help aspiring diverse models to find their confidence, build resilience, and learn skills to go out and become a diverse icon in the industry. Today, we have a special guest on. She's a lovely friend of mine, and she is definitely a boss bitch. She's a cake expert, but more than that, she is a happiness expert, and she helps small business owners. So to find out a little bit more, let's bring her on. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, Debbie-Lyn.
I promise. So you run the Happy Business Club and you're also editor of the Happy Business Express. So you've been doing that for a long time. So I know that, you're quite cake obsessed. I know that you like to dance around, but you also want to tell people about how happiness is more than that, is something which needs to be sustainable. And how that can relate to you as an entrepreneur or in your business.
Absolutely. And we know all of this firsthand, don't we, Debbie-Lyn? We know all of it firsthand. We know how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. We know how many things that we take on, how much energy it takes, especially when, stuff in life gets thrown at us, whether it be illnesses or family or loss, or just literally losing something and not being able to find it, or the tech going wrong, or not having enough time for everything. And I think cake and dancing, absolutely. I think cake and dancing, well, for me anyway, is like the ultimate joy. But to me, that's like unicorn joy, unicorn happiness, which means it's lovely and fluffy and it has its place. It actually is very important, and it is actually really easy to do. But it doesn't take away from what's underneath the surface level. And to me, that's like being, that's like ninja happiness. So it's about building skills. It's about building that resilience and building that way of being able to be flexible enough in your emotions and your day-to-day to be able to deal with stuff. Because from that's where you get things like pride, that's where you get things like joy, connection, and all of that feeds into your individual smorgasbord of happiness. That's what it is in a nutshell, but I know we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we are. So you say the hardest part of happiness is what makes it sustainable. So what does that mean in real life for like entrepreneurs?
Well, it's everybody. It's not just entrepreneurs, but I think for entrepreneurs, for people who are going out there and making a living doing what they love and being in charge of literally everything, I think building those skills is so much more important, not just for them, but for their business as well. So if they can build those skills of happiness to actually support their business, that is what's going to come out in their business. So, I run the Happy Business Club. It's not just about business making money. It's about having fun along the way, being happy with the way things are going, striving for things and being able to achieve things. Because one of the hardest things to do is do it all yourself. So a lot of the things that I like to talk about, and when we get on a deeper level, we're talking away from Instagram, away from the TikToks. When I'm sitting one-to-one with people, a lot of it is about who you are, what makes you happy, how are you going to deal with things that befall you, what are your strengths, how do we overcome weaknesses and build those up so that you have the skills to be able to do the hard things. We have this saying, don't we, Debbie-Lyn?
We do, and I always when I'm struggling and I'm like, right, I'm giving up this business, I'm giving up, which happens every week. I always have your voice in my head saying you can do hard things, and I remind myself, and it's so true. You can do hard things. You're capable of so much more than you believe you are, but you do sometimes just need that little push. And that's what you're so excellent at, is like just reminding people they're capable of doing more than the bad times would have them believe.
Yeah. And entrepreneurs are so flipping capable that if they learn how to pick themselves up So this is what it's literally all about. It's different things. So we can look at honesty, we can look at creativity, we can look at things like how to deal with life, because you know what kind of things in the past have gotten you. So if you know that those things are coming again, how do you actually deal with it? How do you calm your nervous regulation? What am I talking about?
Nervous system regulation.
Nervous system. How do you regulate that so that you can actually come back from that and crack on with things? So it's a lot of those things, but it's being able for that individual, for that business owner to be able to do that themselves. That's the key thing. And one of the ways that I do it is by doing a thing called hactices. So I'm sure I've mentioned it a million times before. If you've ever been in my world, I'll have spoken about it quite a lot, but I'm going to be speaking about it a hell of a lot more from now on in. It's about creating a hack, which is something that relieves an immediate problem, because in this day and age, we have so many different pressures upon us. We're looking for things that are easy, and we have the resources to do that, but it's like finding the right one to hit that problem, sort that problem out, get your dopamine hit and or build that little bit of resilience and crack on. But that's fine. That's like the unicorn stuff, yeah? So that's fine. That helps the problem now, but will it help the problem later? And I think it's so much easier to practice dealing with problems before the problems hit, because you're in a really good state to actually train your mind and your body and your emotions to build the kind of habits and skills that you need when the shit really does hit the fan. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with that. You can edit it out if you want to. So when the shit hits the fan, you have already practiced it. So it's like, when you're training for the Olympics or whatever, they don't do the same thing. They don't go and do the Olympic track over and over again. They do the training of the body to be able to sustain themselves in that very high pressure environment. And the hactices, what I do is I help with a little tiny little thing that they can hack, but also if they do it every day, not when they need it, but as a matter of course, they build that skill. And all of a sudden, you've got things like skills of self-belief. How important is it to have self-belief when you're an entrepreneur? Because there's nobody there, Yeah, there's nobody there to take that little mind goblin and tell the goblin to shut up and sit down because, you've got things to do. So even things like self-belief, organizing your time, there's nobody there to organize your time for you. You've got to decide that for yourself. How to unleash creativity or even rein creativity in. Nobody's doing that for you. If you build the skill yourself and you make it easy, then that is going to really underpin everything that's good about you and bring it to your business. So that's the things that we're looking at. So
hactices, and that's actually trademarked to you, isn't it, Michelle?
Absolutely. Watch this space.
That's something that you teach, isn't it? And it's so powerful. It's a great tool. So tell us about a time when you weren't so happy and you had to really build that resilience, enabled you to get through it.
Yeah, I'm fairly lucky. I meet a lot of people who have had very traumatic things happen to them in the past. They don't have stable homes and things like that. I'm very lucky in that I had a very loving home. I was brought up in a really stable environment, and not a lot of really bad, awful things happened to me as I was growing up. So I was quite protected. And for that, I am absolutely, truly grateful to my parents and to the universe that, that I was found myself in that position. But, in saying that, as I've gone through life, I've had to learn things very much the hard way. I've had health issues. And in particular, I lost my first child on the 41st week of pregnancy. And if I start crying here, it still hits me hard, and it might hit a few other people hard as well. So I delayed having children. I didn't want them for a very long time. And it wasn't until I met my second husband that we decided that we wanted to start a family, and everything went brilliantly. I was in my mid-30s. I was really healthy all the way through my pregnancy. I was working. We ended up moving so that I could be closer to family. And it was a really lovely time. And just the general pregnancy, wasn't it? You know, it's like you get to 40 weeks, you can't wait for the baby to come out because you know, you're the size of a whale and it's hard to move around. And it was the middle of a really hot summer as well. And at 40, it was 40 weeks and 10 days. So 41 weeks and 3 days, what would they say 40 weeks and 10 days. I had a sweep because we were waiting for this baby to come out. And it's like, are you ready yet? Are you coming out yet? We've been waiting for you for a long time. We want to say hello, kind of thing. And I had a sweep and everything was fine. And then literally 24 hours later, there was no heartbeat. There was nothing. And it was a really, really hard time. And I feel all emotional now just talking about it because it was 13 years ago. But still, that still hits hard.
But when you say it out loud to people, I still well up as well. Yeah. I lost my first child as well. Yeah. Not at 40 weeks, but still.
Even so,
the moment you find out there's no heartbeat, there's nothing that you can't describe that to anyone. It never leaves you. It never leaves you, does it?
It's devastating, and life moves on and things happen and you find joy in other things. I had a rainbow baby, as quite often happens. Again, I feel very blessed and lucky to have had a rainbow baby, and I feel blessed and lucky to still have, you know, that family dynamic. But that was kind of a real turning point for me in terms of making sure that the rest of my life wasn't going to be dragged down by something so awful, because the chances are something so awful could quite easily happen again. And I'm, you know, even the rest of my life, something really devastating can happen. I can suffer loss again and again and again because I have so many people that I'm so, you know, I basically love everybody. I lose anybody and it's going to drag me down. So I've got to not harden my heart as much, but be able to give myself the space to be able to overcome that and still move on. Because when you suffer loss, it's a process. It can take such a long time to come out of. But there's so much that you can actually do for yourself to give yourself that space, give yourself that love and comfort, and, you know, bring yourself out of the other side. And that's what I did at that point. And yes, it was 13 years ago, and it's taken me a very long time to get here. But the first thing that I did was I started by making my bed. Every morning, that was the thing that I focused on. You make your bed, you tidy your world, you give yourself a fresh start.
I've spoken about that as well.
Yeah.
It's such a, you know, basic thing, but when you're in that state of mind, it feels big.
It does.
And just having that each day to do, and then looking at it and it's neat and tidy, and it just gives you that little tiny sense of pride again, doesn't it? Yeah. I've done that. At least I've made my bed, you know. Yeah.
That's the very least that I've done. Now I can. What else can I do? What else can I do? Mm-hmm. And strangely enough, the way, you know how sometimes things just work out really. When you start looking at it, you think, "Oh, that's a little bit weird." Well, that happens quite a lot. But what had happened at that point was I moved to be near my family. So I'd been there about a month waiting for this baby to arrive. I'd left my job. I was on maternity leave. I don't think I was planning on going back, but we hadn't absolutely decided what was going on. But the idea was that we were going to stay with family. And I'd lost a baby, didn't have a baby to look after. And it was like, well, what the hell do I do now? Do I go back 200 miles and go back to my job because it's still there available for me? Or what do I do? Well, do I move on? I've got no other options at the moment that I could see. And one of the things that I had previously looked at was this idea of buying into a franchise. And there was one specific one, which was very close to where I was living at the time, which was Baby Ballet. And I'd spoken to my sister about it ages ago, and I'd even applied for it or asked about it, got all the details and stuff, and just put it on the back burner, ready for when I was ready for it, which I didn't think was going to be for quite a while because, you know, you have a brand new baby. you want to kind of like get used to that first before you jump back into work again. So it was 6 weeks after I lost Jacob, after I lost Jacob, and I was on my own. My husband had gone back down to work in London. I was up in Yorkshire. And I was out on a walk with my sister, and I says, what the hell am I going to do? I feel really not just lost in grief, but just lost in my life. And she said, well, why don't you were looking at baby ballet. Why don't you go back and have a look at baby ballet? I literally got back to the house, found the telephone number, rang them up. This was on a Wednesday. And they said, we've got an open day on a Friday. And it was a mile down the road. It was literally a mile down the road. That's where they were based. And I said, right, I'm coming. And, you know, a couple of days later, I went. I was in bits. I was in bits at this point, but I needed something to hang on to. And because I did that, it saved me, basically. So I found a business, and it was a baby business. Do you know how hard it was to actually go to those classes when I'd set them up and actually sit there and watch people's babies? But I did it. It was hard, but I did it because it was necessary for me to kind of get over it and, you know, become the person that I was meant to become. And that was a business owner. I'd owned businesses in the past. I've been involved in family business. That was my bag. That was what I really wanted to do. And for me to do that, I had to go through grief, loss, picking myself back up again. I went to therapy, all the stuff. And then obviously going through having another baby and having to run a baby alongside a business. But it was all in the right direction. And during those years, even the last 13 years and beyond that, there's so much in my life that I ponder over and think about and try to understand and try to relate it to the world and psychology and behavioral psychology as a whole, and see, you know, how can I change the way that I look at the way that I felt and help other people in my position as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you know, get over the things that befall them, and help them to move on. How did I do it? And will that work for other people? And how can we make it fun? Let's bring some joy back. You know, let's bring the skills back, but let's bring some joy back. Let's sprinkle it with.
Because you spend so much time, you know, working. It should be fun, shouldn't it? And you should be able to have some bits of joy. It shouldn't all just be stress and worry. It can be a lot of stress and worry, especially when you're an entrepreneur and everything's, you know, down to you. But
we both know all of this, don't we?
But yeah, managing your time and finding those things that work for you, because everyone's different. Finding those things that work for you is invaluable, isn't it? And you've helped me so much because I have ADHD, so that comes with a certain set of difficulties, and I also have borderline personality disorder, which comes with another set of difficulties. So those are
and you're flipping awesome.
I'm flipping awesome. But you know, those are the things that have held me back in the past from being able to, you know, grow my business. And since I've been working with you, all that's changed. And it's not to say I don't struggle anymore, but like I said before, I do struggle, but then I do have your voice in my head saying you can do hard things. Or think we've had that many conversations now where I've come to you like, oh, Michelle, this has happened. I've decided I'm giving up the business.
No way, Jose.
I very rarely have those thoughts anymore now. If I get to that point, I do get to that point, but instead of catastrophizing, I think, okay, I think you're a bit tired. What you need to do is have a day off, or you need to have a sleep or something like that, and then come back to it. And that's when I started doing that, I started realizing how much more productive I am when I take more time away from the business.
Boy, you are productive.
I come back twice as strong. I come back with twice as many ideas. And if I don't understand something and I'm trying, that just makes it worse and worse. I understand it less. But if I come away from it and then come back to it and read it again or look at it, I'm like, why didn't I understand that before? And it's just because my brain gets too full up.
Absolutely.
But I've learned all these things through working with you. So I'm proof, my success, our success is proof that, you know, it works. What you're doing really works. And you can turn your hand to sort of anyone. Like you know, whatever, everyone's got individual, you know, difficulties that they might have, or everyone's been through different things, but you're able to like turn your hand to whoever you're working with. I think that's a skill you've got as well. Like you said before, you love everyone.
I love everyone. I try to suspend judgment as well, and I try to put myself in their position. And again, that's a skill. That's not just, you know, it's not just me that can do that. It's a skill that anybody can do. It's just, how do you make that important, and how do you build that skill into what you already do? And how do you turn the
I can easily do that in hindsight. What I can't do is do it immediately. My immediate reaction to the majority of people is I always think negatively first. I struggle with trust, as you know. I always think negatively first, but the way your mindset works fascinates me, and that's something else I think you're rubbing off in a good way on me, and lots of positive influence where
I'm going to die happy now you said that, Debbie-Lyn. You do know that, don't you?
You can die happy.
Yeah. Because if I die, at least I'll have helped somebody.
It's going on your gravestone. Definitely. That's something that you've helped me with, and continue to help me with. Just being around you. It's good for me to be around you because you balance me out, you know.
It's good for me to be around you as well.
Oh, thank you. So what do you think that people get wrong often about the pursuit of happiness? What in business or in life, what do you think is like a common misconception about what it is to be happy or have happiness?
I think the biggest thing is they don't make it important enough. They ignore it far too often. I have this thing, it's the 4 pillars of happiness, right? Let me see if I can remember off the top of my head what they are. I know what they are inside my heart, but getting it out there. So the first thing is make it important. The second thing is notice everything. The third thing is do the little things that make you happy, so daily actions. And the fourth thing is spread it like squishy butter. So it's about filling up your own filling up your own cup with the happiness so that can then impact the world. Because I speak to entrepreneurs all the time, and the small business owners, the people who are doing it with a lot of heart. No, we're not talking big corporates. I don't speak to a lot of massive corporates, and you know, it's made up of so many different moving parts. When you're an individual on your own and you're doing it because you, not just because you want to make money and earn a living and don't want to go back to a job anymore, you do it because you genuinely care about people. You want to use your talents and you want to put that out there. Mm-hmm. I think these things are really important. So making your happiness important. You know, just decide. Today you wake up and you're like, today I'm deciding I'm going to be happy. And your brain switches itself on to that. As long as you made that decision and you set yourself that, you planted that little seed, then your brain is going to start looking for the things that make it. So all of a sudden,
it's like the red card theory, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true because it is, you have to choose happiness. You have to choose to feel happy, because if you let the outside influences influence how you're feeling, you're going to be up, down, up, down, up, down. You're going to be all over the show, aren't you?
It's like gravity, isn't it? The pull, the natural human pull we are naturally wired for happiness. Don't get me wrong, because we are paradoxical, intelligent beings. So happiness can sit alongside sadness and fear. So it's love and fear, isn't it? Really, more than anything else. So we do sit around fear, but fear is there to protect us. So from the very most basic human level, we are dragged down by this gravity. The emotional gravity is this protection, this fear. We talk about it all the time when we talk about stress and stuff like that. Which means that if we want to look at it from the intellectual human level, we're looking for happiness as well, because we are high vibration human beings. And I know we talk about energetics, and not everybody understands or believes or has the same kind of language as me in terms of, you know, the way that energy is. But if you think about just how you are when you're happy, do you feel more energetic? You already say that, you know, I'm more energized, I'm jumping around, or I feel calmer, or it feels in flow, that kind of thing. When you're looking for that, it's basically the opposite of, you know, what the things that are dragging us down. But it takes so much more energy to get to that energy than it does the other way. So if you're constantly looking for the little things, tiny little things, you're noticing what makes you happy, you're noticing what makes you inspired, you're noticing what makes you calm. You go out on a walk, you can notice lots of things. You can notice the beauty of nature. You can notice, you know, how different you are. You can look at your toes and think, oh, my toes are all like little round pebbles. And you can, you know, they sound so stupid. I know it sounds stupid. I know when I said it sounds stupid. But the feeling that you get off the back of it, this awe and wonder that you lose after after being a child, you bring that back again. And not just that, if you're with people and you look for the inspiration in people's stories. I mean, I'm one of these people, you're probably very much the same. When you watch something on the telly, it's never for entertainment. It's always for flipping wisdom. What kind of lesson can I learn from this? That's
literally all I do every day is learn. Yeah. And then if I think, right, it's time to have a rest from learning for a bit now, I'll watch a documentary.
We just literally don't. It's that curiosity, and we're naturally curious. And if you hone that as a skill, then all of a sudden you're honing in on things that are going to lift your energy. The world is already dragging you down. There's a lot going on. If you notice them, the world is already dragging you down. Focus on lifting your energy, and you're going to lift your mood. You're going to lift your understanding of other people. You're going to lift your tolerance to things that can drag you down. It's going to be easy. It's literally just like creating a muscle and keeping that muscle going and getting stronger and stronger. And that's why we talk about resilience, because happiness runs alongside it. You have to build resilience and happiness alongside it. And that is more of what I want to talk about. I go on Instagram, I go on Facebook, I do my dancing, I do my cake, and everybody likes it. But it doesn't stop there. It really doesn't stop there. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, I know. So what do you want to talk about now? Because I was going to ask you about the Happy Business Express, and where the inspiration came from for you to start that.
I'll tell you where the inspiration came from for that, and then I'll tell you about the inspiration from my book, because I've just recently accidentally published my book, my first book. So the Happy Business Express started off because I was a lazy little bitch, and I said I didn't want to do emails to people, you know, tell them what's going on and stuff, because I find it quite boring. I want things to be fun and exciting. I want people to not just notice, but feel that fun and excitement as well. So I was like, I'm not going to do an email. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do not a newsletter, magazine. So the idea was that I'd create this magazine, I'd send it out once a month, everything would be in it, blah, 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 and it'd be easy. Oh, no. I didn't do the emails, but I did this magazine. Do you realize how much time it took? It was a free magazine. It was a community magazine. And to make it easier, what I did was I started inviting people to write for me. And it was the best thing it was such a happy accident. It was the best thing that I could have done, because I got to celebrate with brand new people. I got to celebrate with my friends. We got to talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. We got to share our expertise. That's the word, isn't it? Expertise. In this little fun, little colourful magazine, and I could send it out to everybody that was interested. So I built up my list, and we built up the writers, and everybody got their little links, and I put the work into it. And so many times I could have just dropped it and said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it. And I do emails now as well. Unfortunately, I've doubled my workload off the back of this. So I don't want to do it anymore. And then it's like, hang on a second. I actually feel good when I'm doing it. I cry when I'm editing it, because of the beautiful stories that people actually bring to the table. And I enjoy putting it out there. It's hard work, don't get me wrong, but I love it. And it's built community, and it's got talking points, and it's giving people a platform to say what they want to say, even when they're scared. I've had people that have never written a single article before, and now are writing for me every month, coming to me and saying, can I write on this? Can I write about this? And can I write about this? And it's just such a lovely community to be in. And I really want to keep that going. It's been going for nearly 3 years now. Nearly 3 years. I mean, talk about, being consistent. I can't say I'm particularly consistent. I jump from idea to idea and I experiment, but this has really very much been a consistent thing, a very slow growth, but it's been a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I invite anybody that's got anything to say about life, love, and the universe, happiness, play, fun, joy, stories, anything like that, to come and write for me at the Happy Business Express. It costs you nothing. Costs you nothing to subscribe. It costs you nothing to submit an article, and we get you in front of people and get those relationships going, because I think the relationships are built on the people, not the businesses. You can tell people about your businesses, you can sell to your heart's content, but people are going to connect with the individual.
Yeah, it's storytelling, definitely.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it since the dawn of time, haven't we? Storytelling.
Absolutely.
It's how we've always connected with other humans, and it is powerful.
Yeah.
People standing on stages, telling their stories, or written stories. Or this, what we're doing, coming on a podcast and hearing people's voices. And it's a level up as well, because I did have the podcast was just an audio, and I wanted to add an extra layer to it, because to me, I feel I want to see someone's eyes. Like, I want to see their expressions, to get a feel for them. I can't properly get a feel for someone if we're just writing to each other. So I think
and it's about seeing all your glorious gorgeousness as well.
It builds that extra element of trust, right? Perfect. So if anyone has any interesting stories to tell, or because you do a theme, don't you, Michelle? Like, you have different themes each month. So the best thing to do is come along and follow your page on Instagram, and you do shout outs, don't you, for writers each month?
Yes, I do.
So people can get involved in that. So you don't just teach happiness, you live and breathe it, don't you? You are the example. So what
don't get me wrong, I'm not happy all the time, every single second of the day. Sometimes I have to kind of like kick me on the backside.
Sometimes you have to go into those practices.
I absolutely do, every day.
Tell us a few of your non-negotiable habits and practices you personally live by.
One of the ones that I still struggle with to this day, because I was brought up in a generation where the whole idea of being good and not being good enough, never knowing quite what good enough is. It's just this proof of awesomeness, and it's this whole thing of, sit yourself down, who do you think you are, too big for your boots kind of thing. I do think I'm fabulous. I'm going to say it here and now, and I've probably said it. I think I'm flipping delightful. And I actually enjoy watching myself. And it's not about the big-headedness of it. It's about me being able to appreciate the gifts that I bring to the world, the same as that I appreciate everybody else's gifts as well. I'm a human being. I'm allowed to be part of the people, aren't I? So if I'm appreciating them, I can appreciate myself. And it's not about bigging myself up over everybody else. It's about, lifting that vibe. And if I can't do it for myself, how the hell am I going to do it for anybody else? So there's one called the Proof of Awesomeness. And it's something that I still to this day don't always get right, but it's probably the ones I have to work on the most. And it's about embedding this idea that you look for the proof of how you do great things, and being able to say it to yourself before you say it to anybody else, and embedding it in something that you already do. So I usually do it with a drink. So you got a drink. So I've got my drink. If I drink and I sit there and I think about something awesome that I'm doing, and then all of a sudden that actually makes me feel really good about, it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. Oh yeah, I'm awesome because of that, because that's my proof, and I have to remind myself of that. That is a really good one. And the one that I do literally all the time is the walk of epic ideas.
I knew you were going to say that. It's so good for your mental health to go for a walk. I love that one.
But for lots of reasons. And I do different types of, this is a whole thing, this walk of epic ideas. You think it's go for a walk, come back with lots of ideas. Absolutely isn't. It's so much more than that. So many different types of walks. You can have a short walk to reset yourself. You can have a longer walk without any kind of like distractions to create awe and notice things. You can have a walk where you listen to podcasts or videos, maybe something like this, and become inspired and come back with lots of different ideas. You could have a walk where you're completely mired in your thinking and deep thought and, coming up with ideas. They're the ones where you end up stopping and having to do little notes into your phone because you've thought of something else. And, if you come back and you haven't done a note, you're going to forget it. And that's another awesome. Yeah. So there's so many different ways of doing it. And this is just the way that I do it. And I know there's people do it for lots of other reasons as well, and lots of other ways of doing it. So that's something that I do on a regular basis. And it gets my steps in, which is good for my physical health. So there's lots and lots of walk of epic ideas. It's like my book came off the back of that. The magazine came off the back of that. Literally everything that I do, found its way onto this planet through my walk of epic ideas. So I ain't going to be giving that one up anytime soon. I wanted to tell you about my book. That's what I wanted to tell you about.
I was going to ask you about the book next. So tell me all about your book. Let me just move my legs. Tell me all about your book.
All right. In true Michelle Thomas fashion, I published it by accident. So I spent 20 years writing this book. I write everything in my head first. Ever since I remember, I used to write letters in my head before I put them out on paper. I used to write poems in my head before. I even used to have conversations with people before you had actually had them. I mean, I even to this day, if I have to go to the doctors and I know that it's not going to be very pleasant.
Do you have a constant narrative going on all the time? You had like a commentator.
Yeah.
I do. Apparently not everyone has that.
No, I don't think my husband does. I imagine that his brain's quite blank most of the time. I bet it's lovely.
Yeah, apparently sometimes people's brains they're just not thinking about anything. I'm like,
no.
What?
I have conversations with all sorts of people in my head.
I just because that's how I am. I just thought like everyone's brain was like that.
No, not everybody is like that. Anyway, yeah. So I don't even know what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
Yeah, epic ideas. You walked some epic ideas.
Lots of epic ideas. Yeah, so that's it. So because I've always done this, I've always got some sort of ideas of different developing about some book or another. I've got another 2 books already kind of like planned out in there already. But this first one, because I've been on the pursuit of happiness for over 20 years now, because I started in personal development when I trained as stress management and hypnotherapist, like in the early 2000s. It's always been there, this personal development, this growth mindset, positive psychology, all that kind of thing. So I've always read a lot, I've always consumed a lot, and I've always thought a lot. And it was like, you'd have a little thing, oh, this sounds like a really good theory. Let's explore this theory. This would be really good in my book. So I'd file it away in my brain, always with this intention of writing it out sometime, but I never did. For years and years and years, I just never did. And I've been doing the Happy Business Club for quite a while, and it's obviously just like keeps coming back. And I thought I better do it before my 50th birthday. I better write this damn book. So I got in touch with my friend who's a book coach, Rachel Harmsworth, and she says, right, come on, let's put a structure to this, let's get it out there. And in 6 weeks, it was like I always imagine, when you're a cat. Well, you can't be a cat, but when you see cats and they're trying to get these fur balls out. I always imagine that writing something sometimes is a bit like that. And that's how it felt for like 6 weeks. I felt like I was puking up this stuff that had been in my brain for like a long time, over 6 weeks. And I was writing it down and it doesn't look like anything.
Yeah.
And then in the end, we managed to get the first edit done by my 50th birthday, which was last year in June. And I just kind of left it because I had other things on the go. So I left it. And then beginning of this year, I thought, right, I'm going to revive it. When you set your intentions and stuff at the beginning, I'm going to revive it because it needs to come out. I spent 20 years writing it in my head. Then I got it out there. Now I need to publish it. So we're going to do self-publishing on Amazon. And I said, Rachel, listen, if you will leave it to me, it ain't going to be done. I'll give it to you. You put it on Amazon, and then it'll get done. Just like pushing that accountability to somebody else. Yeah. So she went ahead and she was like filling it all in, and she was ringing me and saying, what we're going to do with this, and I can't get in your account. What do I need to do with it? The usual stuff. And I says, right, what we want to do is, she says, when do you want to publish it by? I says, let's set a deadline. I think it was the end of May. Let's set a deadline the end of May. Right, okay. So she put it in. I thought it was just like a placeholder. And then we left it again. And then nearer like a little bit left further on, I was like, right, we need a proof copy. Let's get a proof copy. So she'd go back in again. And then we got the proof copy. And then they were saying that you can't make changes because it's being published. And within 5 days, it was being published. And we completely forgot that we'd actually put this marker in. I thought we could change it, and we hadn't changed it. So it got published without us proofing it. And then somebody bought a copy. I wonder who that person is. And then we've changed it since then, and I've kind of like not told everybody the link, or I mean, you could have found it, but I was like making a big thing out of it. And we will launch officially. This is the day, and eventually we launched it rather than published. It was already published, and we managed to get the second version out with all the corrections and everything. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that.
Oh, yeah. Good. Well, I haven't finished reading my one yet, but so far, really, really good. And I struggle to read. Yeah. I get bored I struggle very much. For one, the words are too small usually, and I have to keep rereading things again and again and thinking it's not going in my brain. I find with bigger print, sorry.
Yeah.
Not bigger words, bigger print. It just goes in my brain better. So yeah. Brilliant.
There you go. That's something for me to file away for later, because I've got loads of other things coming up. So yeah. So Radical Happiness for High Vibe Humans by Michelle Thomas at the Happy Business Club. It's my first book. It's not my only book. It took me 20 years to write. I accidentally published it. But it's a nice light-hearted read, I think. I think it's easy to read.
So we'll pop all these links in the comments, guys, so you can get in touch with Michelle if you want to work with Michelle, either if you want to be a writer for the Happy Business Express, or if you want to work with her in a coaching business, the Happy Business Club.
You do know that I retired from coaching, don't you?
Oh no. Have you officially retired?
Oh yeah, last year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Don't get in touch with her for coaching. But yeah. We'll pop all the links that are relevant for now in the comments. Let's just end by asking you, what is your favourite cake?
Bienenstich.
Which is German, right?
Yeah. Look it up.
And just going to say, what is next for you?
Oh my goodness, I do not know.
Do you have a
list? There's plenty going on. I mean, the Hactices are going to be really come to life. I'm going to be putting that out there into the world. We're going to make it as accessible as possible. That's going to be one of my key things, because especially since working with you, Debbie-Lyn, accessibility comes in all different forms. Can I just ask
one more question? Is it working with me that's put you off the coaching?
No, I did it before. I stopped coaching before I started working with you, you Ollie bag.
Because you will never get a better person to coach.
Yeah, so but I don't officially coach you. We're just mates.
No, I know. But you do coach me, like in life.
I help you out, you help me, I help you. We work it out. That is, we work it out. Yeah. So we've got Hactices coming up. That'll be
Hactices. That's watch out for Hactices coming up next from Michelle Thomas.
Absolutely.